What's up, everybody? It's Priyo and Joni. So today we're going to talk about something a little different from what we normally talk about on my channel. Usually we're talking about DJ controllers, CDJs, musical instruments, or production. But today we're going to talk about using turntables and specifically how to prevent your needle, which is your cartridge and your stylus, from skipping. See, back in the day when people used actual records when they DJ at the club, which I'm not saying they don't today, but it's a lot more rare. Back in the day, it was really important for them not to skip, because if the needle skips, the music skips. Today, most folks are using DVS, digital vinyl system, which is a timecode record that you use where the movement of the record is interpreted by the interface or the mixer, which talks to your DJ software on your computer, and that movement is translated by how the music moves inside the software. Because of how the technology works, there's this mode called relative mode that when the needle actually skips, your music doesn't skip. Because of that safety system that's built into the software, a lot of folks that have started their turntable usage on DVS generally don't really know how to take some of the steps to keep your needle tracking better. For them, it's not that big of a deal, because the software is taking care of any movement of the needle that's not supposed to do. But then when they actually switch to actual vinyl, they notice that some of the movements that they do on a DVS record causes the needle to skip when they're using actual vinyl. So today, I wanted to help you guys out as to the steps you can take to keep your needle from skipping. And I think this doesn't just benefit the people who use actual records, but when your needle is skipping on your DVS record, it's actually wearing a lot faster. So this tip should benefit both you guys who use records and timecode records alike. So to keep your needles from skipping, step 1, buy a phase device. Just kidding. Step 1, make sure that your turntable is sitting on a very solid platform. So make sure it's not wobbling, and make sure it's very, very flat. If it's on a plastic table, that's not going to do. If it's sitting on top of subwoofers, definitely not. It has to be a flat, solid, rigid surface. Step 2, there's a break-in period for your needles. You see, the thing about a brand new stylus is that when you get it brand new, it's very, very stiff. It could take anywhere from a couple hours to a couple days of using it before the stylus is fully broken in. A brand new stylus can sometimes skip more than a used stylus a week or two later. For me, because I barely touch my turntables, I bought these Concord Greens in the fall, and they didn't start tracking perfectly until just recently, and it's February. Now, one way to break them in faster is to actually just leave them on the record without the record moving overnight. And usually after a day or two, they should be fine. It just really depends on the brand and what factory the stylus was made in. Number 3, make sure that your tone arm is in proper working condition. You see, a lot of Technics folks don't like to admit this, but there are some tone arms whose bearings actually go bad over time. And that could be caused by a lot of factors, but whatever the case is, just make sure that there's very little resistance when your tone arm is being moved up and down, and then inward and outward. Usually when the bearing goes bad, you might feel some resistance, or you might hear clicking when you move the tone arm around because the bearing is loose. Number 4, learn how to calibrate your tone arm correctly. There's a lot of videos on YouTube on how to do that properly. We're not going to go over that here. But a properly calibrated tone arm is really, really important. Now, in a practical case, having a little bit more weight than the maximum recommended is usually what works. But having too much weight can wear out your needle and actually make it skip more. So having your calibration perfect is really, really important. So number 5, if you are scratching, I highly recommend using battle style configuration. And what that means is your turntable tone arm is actually on the upper left. Standard style is when the turntable is actually facing you in the normal position where the pitch fader is on this side. Battle style is the way I have it right now. Now, a lot of folks believe that battle style is only for comfort so that the tone arm is out of your way when you're scratching. But it also serves another function. When your hand is scratching on this side, it's a lot farther away from the stylus, and it tends to skip less when you're scratching on this side versus having your hand scratching around this side. So number 6. Now this is really, really important because this is the one that I don't see a lot of people actually do. And that is filling your record hole when it's too big. So what happens is that the hole in your record, if it's slightly too big, it tends to make the record wobble around. Now, even if it's really, really small and you can't even tell, that small gap is enough to make your record move around and make the needle move around. Let me show you right here what I mean. I know this is going to be really hard to see, but this record actually has a hole very, very slightly bigger than the spindle. If you look, I don't know if you can see that, but see, that's when it's there's a space, and then when I pull it back, it closes. And when you have that space, the needle starts to move left and right. So there's 2 ways to solve that problem. There's a shortcut way, and then there's a long-term way. So first, I'm going to show you the shortcut way. If you're at a gig and you're having this issue, there's a really, really easy fix to it. So first, take the record off. And what I'm going to do now is I'm going to take a piece of napkin or tissue. You can get it at the bar. I'm going to just rip off a very, very little piece. So now I'm going to take that piece and I'm going to cover the spindle with it. Then I'm going to take the record and make sure that it doesn't fly off. And I'm going to place it over where the tissue is and thread the spindle with the tissue on top of it. If you can see the tissue poking right through the hole, that's perfect. So that when you set it down, it just pokes right through. So what that does is there's a little bit of tissue closing the gap so that you don't have any more movement. So let's try this out. Perfect. So that's probably the quickest way to do it temporarily at a gig. So what about a more permanent solution? How do you do this? Well, what you'll need is a pair of scissors and some Scotch tape where one side is, very slippery. And this is what you do. So what you do is you take a really little piece of the tape. See right there? You can see that. And then you fold it inward so that it both sticks on the sticky side. So now you have 2 sides that are slippery. What you do is you're going to be threading it through the record hole. If it's too wide, you can always cut it a little shorter. And now I basically have both sides sticking through like this. And next, what I'm going to do is I'm going to fold it over so that it's even on both sides. Whoops. And then I'm going to slowly place it back on the spindle. And right now, the piece of tape is a little loose. And I'm going to take some more tape. I'm going to tape this side downward. And if I want the tape to be even, I'm just going to trim this. And then now I take it off and I flip it around. There's still that loose end of the tape on this side. So I thread the hole. And now I'm going to tape it. Tape this side down as well. Now I have a record that is permanently, perfectly filled so that when I put it on the spindle, it does not move around at all. So let's try that. So that are the steps you can take to keep your cartridge and your stylus from skipping. If you guys got any questions or comments regarding this video, be sure to leave them in the comments below. And if it's your first time here and you guys found this video useful, be sure to hit that subscribe button. And don't forget to click that little bell icon so you get a notification the next time I upload a video. All right, guys, if you guys have any topics you want me to cover right here, be sure to hit me up on Twitter. I would love to hear what you guys want me to cover. So hit me up on Twitter. I'll be reading your tweets. Really appreciate you guys for watching. Take care.